Ferrari blocked Mat Armstrong's 296 GTB parts and walked into a legal trap. This situation started when popular car builder Mat Armstrong began working on a crashed Ferrari 296 GTB rebuild project. His goal was not only to repair the damaged supercar but also to convert it into a track-focused challenge-style build using official Ferrari parts. At first, everything seemed normal, and several parts were successfully ordered and delivered. However, things changed when Ferrari allegedly blocked the supply of the remaining essential components needed to complete the build. This decision left the project stuck in an unfinished state and created a major problem for the rebuild. The situation quickly gained attention online, as many people began discussing whether manufacturers should have the right to restrict parts for cars that have already been sold. It also raised questions about right to repair laws in Europe, which aim to give owners and independent builders more access to parts, tools, and repair information. Because of this growing debate, many believe Ferrari may have unintentionally created a legal and public relations challenge that could have wider consequences for the automotive industry. The situation surrounding Ferrari blocking Mat Armstrong's 296 GTB parts quickly escalated into a much bigger debate in the automotive world. What started as a personal rebuild project turned into a wider discussion about ownership rights, manufacturer control, and the limits of modifying modern supercars. Mat had already installed several official Ferrari challenge-style parts, and the car was halfway through its transformation. However, when Ferrari allegedly refused to supply the remaining key components, the project became stuck in an unfinished and complicated state. This raised concerns among car enthusiasts who felt that once a vehicle is sold, the owner should have full freedom to repair or modify it without restrictions from the manufacturer. At the same time, the issue highlighted growing pressure from right to repair laws in Europe, which aim to ensure access to parts, tools, and repair information for independent builders. Because of this conflict between corporate control and consumer freedom, many believe Ferrari may have unintentionally stepped into a legal and public relations challenge that could set an important example for the entire automotive industry in the future. As the debate continued, the Ferrari 296 GTB case involving Mat Armstrong became a symbol of a much larger problem in the modern car industry. Today's vehicles are no longer simple machines. They are complex systems controlled by software, electronics, and manufacturer-linked diagnostic tools. In this case, even though Mat owned the car and had already started the rebuild with official Ferrari parts, the project still could not be completed due to restricted access to remaining components and system-level limitations. This created frustration among independent builders and fans, who argued that ownership should include full control over repairs and modifications. On the other hand, manufacturers like Ferrari justify such restrictions by pointing to safety, performance standards, and brand protection. However, critics believe these rules are also closely tied to business models that depend heavily on official servicing and controlled parts supply. As discussions around right to repair laws continue to grow, this case is being seen as an example that could influence how future legal systems treat vehicle ownership, repair access, and manufacturer responsibility in the automotive world. This controversy has also sparked a strong reaction from the automotive community, especially among enthusiasts who follow rebuild projects online. Many people believe that situations like this highlight a growing gap between car manufacturers and actual car owners. On one side, companies like Ferrari aim to maintain strict control over how their vehicles are repaired, modified, and maintained, especially when it comes to high-performance hybrid systems. On the other side, independent builders argue that once a car is sold, it should no longer be controlled by the manufacturer in such a restrictive way. In Mat Armstrong's case, the frustration comes from being able to start the challenge-style conversion with official parts, only to have the process halted when the final components were allegedly denied. This has led to wider discussions about fairness, transparency, and whether modern ownership truly gives full rights over a vehicle. As right-to-repair laws continue to gain attention, many believe this case could become an important example of how far manufacturers can go in limiting access before legal systems step in to redefine the rules of ownership and repair. This situation is also important because it reflects how modern car ownership is changing due to technology. In older vehicles, repairing or modifying a car was mostly mechanical, and any skilled workshop could do the job with the right tools. But in modern supercars like the Ferrari 296 GTB, a large part of the system is controlled by software, electronic modules, and locked diagnostic systems. This means that even if a builder has the physical parts, the car may still not function properly without manufacturer-level access to reset systems or clear crash data. In Mat Armstrong's case, this created a major roadblock because the vehicle reportedly needed official Ferrari tools or dealer support to fully restart after the rebuild process. However, access to these systems is often restricted, especially for modified cars, which puts independent builders in a difficult position. This growing dependency on manufacturer-controlled software has made the right to repair debate even more important, as it raises questions about whether ownership should include full digital access to a product or remain partially controlled by the company that built it. Because of this growing tension, the Ferrari 296 GTB case has now become more than just a single rebuild story. It is being viewed as a possible turning point in how the automotive industry handles repairs and modifications. Supporters of right-to-repair laws argue that cases like this show why stronger rules are needed to ensure fair access to parts, tools, and technical information. They believe that if a customer legally owns a vehicle, they should not face unnecessary restrictions when trying to repair or upgrade it. On the other hand, manufacturers warn that too much openness could lead to safety risks, improper repairs, and damage to complex systems that require precise calibration. This disagreement creates a difficult balance between protecting users and maintaining strict technical standards. In Mat Armstrong's situation, the blocked parts have turned into a public example of this conflict, drawing attention from car enthusiasts, legal observers, and industry watchers alike. As discussions continue, many believe this case could influence future decisions about how much control manufacturers should have after a car is sold, especially in the era of highly advanced and software-driven vehicles. In the end, this case highlights a bigger question about the future of car ownership in a rapidly changing automotive world. As vehicles become more advanced, manufacturers are gaining more control through software locks, restricted diagnostics, and controlled parts networks. At the same time, independent builders and car enthusiasts are pushing back, demanding more freedom to repair, modify, and fully use the products they own. The Ferrari 296 GTB situation with Mat Armstrong has become a clear example of this conflict, showing how a rebuild project can quickly turn into a legal and industry-wide debate. While the final outcome is still uncertain, the attention this case has received proves that the conversation around right to repair is growing stronger. Moving forward, the automotive industry may have to find a balance between protecting technology and allowing true ownership, or risk facing increasing pressure from both regulators and the public. Ultimately, the Ferrari 296 GTB case involving Mat Armstrong may be remembered as more than just a blocked parts dispute. It could become a reference point for how modern automotive laws evolve. If right-to-repair regulations continue to strengthen, manufacturers may be required to provide greater access to parts, tools, and software, even for high-end performance vehicles. This would significantly change how companies like Ferrari operate, especially in how they control repairs and servicing after a car is sold. However, if manufacturers successfully maintain their current level of control, independent builders could face more restrictions in the future, making complex rebuild projects much harder to complete. Either way, this situation has already sparked a global discussion about ownership, control, and fairness in the automotive world. It shows that the relationship between car makers and car owners is shifting, and cases like this could play an important role in shaping what owning a car really means in the years ahead. For many enthusiasts, this entire situation is a reminder that the automotive industry is entering a new era where technology and control are deeply connected. Cars like the Ferrari 296 GTB are no longer just mechanical machines. They are advanced digital systems that depend heavily on software permissions and manufacturer access. This means that even skilled builders like Mat Armstrong can face unexpected barriers when trying to complete complex projects, especially when official support is restricted. At the same time, the growing demand for right-to-repair laws shows that consumers are becoming more aware of these limitations and are beginning to question them more strongly. Whether Ferrari's actions were purely protective or overly restrictive, the reaction from the public shows that ownership expectations are changing. In the future, The balance between innovation, control, and freedom of repair will likely become one of the most important debates in the automotive industry, and this case has already become a key example in that ongoing conversation. Looking ahead, the outcome of situations like this could influence how both manufacturers and independent builders operate in the coming years. If regulations such as right to repair continue to expand, companies may be required to rethink how they handle parts availability, diagnostic access, and repair permissions for even the most advanced vehicles. This could open the door for more independent workshops and creators to take on complex rebuilds without relying entirely on manufacturer approval. However, if restrictions remain strong, high-performance brands like Ferrari may continue to maintain tight control over their ecosystems, limiting how far modifications and repairs can go outside official channels. In either case, the debate is no longer just about one car or one project. It represents a broader shift in how ownership is defined in the modern automotive world. The Ferrari 296 GTB rebuild controversy has simply brought this issue into the spotlight, making it clear that the future of car ownership will depend on how technology, law, and consumer rights evolve together. In conclusion, the Ferrari 296 GTB situation with Mat Armstrong has become a powerful example of the growing tension between car manufacturers and independent builders. What started as a simple rebuild project slowly turned into a wider debate about ownership rights, repair access, and the limits of manufacturer control in modern vehicles. The blocking of key parts, combined with software restrictions and dealer-only systems, has raised important questions about whether true ownership still exists in today's automotive world. At the same time, the rise of right to repair laws shows that governments and consumers are starting to challenge these restrictions more seriously. While Ferrari and other manufacturers argue that such control is necessary for safety, performance, and brand protection, many enthusiasts believe it limits freedom and creativity. As this debate continues, the outcome of similar cases could shape the future of the entire industry. This situation is not just about one Ferrari. It is about how much control a company should have after selling a product, and how far an owner's rights should go in the modern, software-driven automotive era. This ongoing debate is likely to continue as more modern cars become software-driven and tightly controlled by manufacturers. As technology advances, the gap between traditional mechanical repair and digital vehicle systems is growing wider, making independent repairs more difficult than ever before. Cases like the Ferrari 296 GTB rebuild show how quickly a project can become complicated when access to parts, software, and official tools is restricted. For enthusiasts and builders, this raises concerns about the future of car culture, where creativity and customization could be limited by corporate systems. At the same time, manufacturers are unlikely to fully relax control, as they aim to protect safety standards and maintain the integrity of their engineering. This creates a long-term conflict between innovation freedom and manufacturer protection. In the end, the resolution of this issue will likely depend on how laws evolve and how much pressure is placed on the industry by consumers, regulators, and high-profile cases like this one, which continue to bring global attention to the topic. Finally, the Ferrari 296 GTB case involving Mat Armstrong highlights a turning point in how people think about modern car ownership. It shows that today's vehicles are no longer simple machines that can be freely repaired in any workshop. Instead, they are highly controlled systems where software, electronics, and manufacturer policies play a major role in what owners can and cannot do. This has created frustration among many enthusiasts who feel that true ownership is being slowly reduced to limited usage rights rather than full control. At the same time, manufacturers argue that strict control is necessary to ensure safety, performance, and brand reputation, especially for high-end supercars. As a result, both sides remain locked in a growing debate with no simple solution. What makes this case important is that it has brought these issues into public attention in a very visible way. Whether it leads to stronger right to repair laws or reinforces manufacturer control, it has already influenced how people view ownership in the modern automotive era and will likely continue shaping discussions in the future. This situation also sends a strong message to the entire automotive industry about how quickly public opinion can shift when ownership rights are questioned. In today's digital age, news spreads fast, and cases like the Ferrari 296 GTB rebuild become global talking points within hours. What might have once been a private dispute between a manufacturer and a customer is now a worldwide debate involving millions of viewers, legal experts, and enthusiasts. This level of attention puts pressure on companies to justify their policies more clearly and consider how their actions are perceived by the